Hey up everyone, so we are finally here. The 2025 Oscars are just a few days away. Gotta tell you, it's been one of the bumpiest award seasons I think I've ever seen. We've seen this award season riddled with natural disasters, countless controversies surrounding AI and intimacy coordinators and problematic tweets that have resurfaced. Yeah, it's been surprising, to say the least. We got our SAG winners a few nights ago, which was the last final big precursor before the Oscars. So now it's time for me to give you my final thoughts and predictions on who I think the winners are going to be in all 23 categories at the Oscars. Some categories I'm feeling fairly confident in, like they feel pretty locked in at this point. However, there are some categories where it's a little bit more challenging to call, and interestingly, they are mostly in above the line categories. Like there's a few where we could be in for a potential surprise. Like we do have frontrunners in these categories, but there is definitely some reasonable doubt that someone else could pull off a win, like in Best Picture, Best Director, Lead Actor and Actress, even Best Original Screenplay. None of those feel 100% locked in to me, so yeah, I'm going to give you my thoughts and analysis on the tougher categories to call this year. But yeah, the techs and the crafts, I feel fairly confident on, barring one or two, I'd say. As always, I will be putting my predictions in on the Awards Expert app. If you want to see all my predictions, you can find me there. My username's the same as all my socials. It's just at lukehearfield. Follow us there if you like. But yeah, it's a brilliant app designed by Brother Bro from the Oscar Expert channel. It's a fun way to log your predictions, so yeah, highly recommend it. And yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, I do make a lot of award season content, a lot of prediction and reaction videos. I also cover a lot of international film festivals on the channel, including Cannes and Venice, giving you lots of early movie reviews, as well as the scoop on who I think the awards contenders are going to be for next year. So yeah, if you like that stuff, you can support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, and if you're enjoying the vid, hit that little thumbs up button for me. Apparently it's really good for the algorithm. So yeah, I'm going to make my way through all the predictions that are listed on the Awards Expert app, starting off with the big one, which is Best Picture. Okie dokie, so it really does feel like in the last few weeks, the tea leaves have been telling us that Best Picture is going to go to Anora. It's got a substantial precursor package going into Oscars night. It's won the top prize at Critics' Choice, DGA, WGA, and also the PGA, with the PGA being the most important precursor win because it's decided upon by preferential ballot, just like Best Picture is at the Oscars. And since the expanded era started in 2009, where we had the category being expanded from 5 nominees to 10, the Best Picture winner at the Oscars has matched with the PGA winner 13 out of 15 times. Okay, so it's a very reliable prognosticator tool to predict who's going to win Best Picture at the Oscars. So yeah, out of all the 10 Best Picture nominees, Anora definitely feels like number one right now. However, we do have a challenger now that Conclave has won Best Film at BAFTA, but also SAG Ensemble. It's also been consistently picking up the Best Adapted Screenplay wins at the precursors, which does bolster its chances of winning Best Picture, because typically a Best Picture winner does come along with either a screenplay or directing win, and it's pretty much locked in to win Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars. Spoiler alert for my Best Adapted Screenplay prediction. So yeah, a screenplay win is a good sign of going on to win Best Picture. With Anora's screenplay, Sean Baker did pick up the win at WGA, but he didn't win at Critics' Choice or BAFTA, which could be nothing, but it is something to be aware of. The weird thing about Sean Baker, though, is that he doesn't feel like 100% locked to win either director or screenplay at the Oscars, even though he does feel like the frontrunner in both of those categories, because Brady Corbet is a challenger for directing, and Carly Fajar and Jesse Eisenberg both have a credible chance of winning Best Original Screenplay. Whereas Conclave is definitely going to win in Best Adapted Screenplay, which just substantiates the argument that you can go on to win Best Picture if you win in Screenplay, and also Conclave has a relatively good chance of also winning in Editing, which is also tied to Best Picture. But also the fact that actors gave Conclave SAG Ensemble, even though Anora was right there in the same category, could be indicative that Conclave is going to perform well on a preferential ballot. Conclave is a crowd pleaser, and it's also not faced much backlash this award season like some of its other Best Picture contenders. But I imagine if Conclave does actually manage to win Best Picture at the Oscars, that's when the backlash will occur. But it's very possible that Conclave was the dark horse this whole award season and has just been playing it slow and steady, keeping to the shadows, not causing too much of a stir, then to the last stretch of the award season race, go all the way and win the top prize of Best Picture at the Oscars. It could happen. Like, again, people do like the movie. Like, lots of people want to go see it. This movie made more money than it was expected to. And also, at this point in the race, it does have enough big precursor wins to go all the way and win the top prize of the Oscars. However, I'm still going to predict that Anora wins Best Picture and the Oscars, and these are my reasons why. Firstly, Conclave's director Edward Berger wasn't nominated for directing at the Oscars, whereas Sean Baker was. Anora also has a legit chance of winning an acting award, with Mikey Madison potentially winning Best Actress. That would definitely give it a boost, whereas with Conclave, it doesn't even seem like Ralph Fiennes has a shot at this point. And even though Conclave does have more Oscar nominations than Anora, in terms of the big precursor wins in that numbers game, Anora is still winning. Like, it's won the top prize at Critics' Choice, DGA, PGA, and also WGA. Even the Indie Spirit Award the other day, but again, that doesn't really mean much. So yeah, when it comes to actual wins, Anora does have more, and it's hard to argue with that. But also, the last time a film won Best Film at BAFTA and SAG Ensemble, but lost the PGA, was Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That lost to The Shape of Water, which was the eventual Best Picture winner at the Oscars, but also in the precursors, it won the PGA, the DGA, and the Critics' Choice, just like Anora. It still feels like Anora has a little bit more of an edge, I'd say. So yeah, my final prediction for the 2025 Best Picture Oscar, locking it in now, I'm gonna go with Anora. And a little fun fact for you guys, if Anora does end up winning Best Picture at the Oscars, then it'll be the first 18 or R-rated movie to win Best Picture at the Oscars since Martin Scorsese's The Departed, which won back in, 2007? If Conclave does manage to win, then I will be a little surprised, but not all that much. I would, however, be a little disappointed because Anora was my second favorite film of 2024. Conclave I liked, but Anora I loved, okay? I was so much more emotionally invested in Anora than I was Conclave. So yeah, for me, Anora is a 10, Conclave is an 8. But yeah, if anything other than Anora or Conclave managed to win Best Picture, that would be a surprise. So say The Brutalist or Wicked somehow managed to win, okay? That would be a huge shock. But yeah, do let me know in that comment section below, what are you predicting for this category? Okay, so next up we have Best Director. So many people are predicting Sean Baker for Anora because of that DGA stat. Sean Baker managed to win the DGA a few weeks ago, and since 2010, the winner of the DGA has gone on to win Best Director at the Oscar all but twice. Ben Affleck won the DGA but wasn't nominated at the Oscars, and then the other time was 2019 when Sam Mendes won the DGA for 1917, but Bong Joon-ho won the Oscar for Parasite. Now, it is very hard to disagree with the DGA stat, okay? It is very reliable. But here's the thing, Anora was my second favorite film of the year, okay? I love this movie, and I would be so happy to see Sean Baker win Best Director for it, but there is still this gut feeling that I can't shake about Pradeep Kobe, who made one of the most impressive movies of the year with The Brutalist. Because for the longest time, it really did feel like Brady Corbet was always the presumed frontrunner for Best Director at the Oscars. That was until he lost the DGA to Sean Baker. But even still, Brady Corbet managed to win Best Director at BAFTA after he lost the DGA, evidencing that he still does have some support. The loss at DGA really did hurt Brady Corbet, but I'm wondering, is the reason Sean Baker won at DGA because that guild has seen more of Sean Baker's work over the last decade or so, and like he's really proven himself to them, whereas Brady Corbet is a bit more of a newcomer, because this is only Corbet's third film and arguably the first film that's really gotten him attention from the Directors Guild. And the thing with the DGA and also the Directors branch of the Academy is that they are quite gatekeepy or cliquey and selective of who they let in to the club, and because Corbet is kind of a new voice in filmmaking, maybe they're like, well, Sean Baker's proved himself more to us, he's got more of a catalogue of work that we've seen, and he's earned it more, and Anora is a triumph in so many ways, so we should give it to him because he's proven himself, whereas Corbet probably has more to prove to them. At this point, I know that Anora is more of a Best Picture contender than The Brutalist is, so it does make sense to pair Best Picture and Director together in this instance, especially with a DGA win. But I still can't shake that feeling that the Academy are going to appreciate the scope and ambition of what Brady Corbet managed to pull off with a relatively low budget of just $10 million. So yeah, I do think Brady Corbet can surprise here. It's just, he's definitely a risk to predict. And I feel like when a lot of people first saw Anora, they viewed it more as a screenplay winner than a director winner, but at the Oscars, there's a very real chance that it does win both. The question I should be asking though is, how many Oscars will Sean Baker walk away with on Oscars Sunday? Because he has the potential to win 4. Picture, screenplay, director, and editing. I don't think Baker's gonna sweep. I don't see that happening. I don't see him walking away with 4 Oscars in one night. Like, He's not Walt Disney. And yeah, Baker did manage to win all 4. That would be wild. There's also an outcome where he doesn't win any, because like I said, all the categories that he's nominated for, he doesn't feel like 100% locked that he's gonna win it. Like, he's not like Christopher Nolan last year for director, where it was like painfully obvious. And the same with Best Picture, okay? Oppenheimer was way out in front, okay? Anora does have a challenger in Conclave. But yeah, there is reasonable doubt in all the categories that he's nominated in. But yeah, I don't think Sean Baker is gonna walk away empty-handed. I think he is gonna win at least one, and I think his best chance is Best Picture. But it would be very weird for him to win Best Picture without him also winning either Best Screenplay or Directing or both. But yeah, when it comes to directing, between Baker and Corbet, who do I think the Academy will go for? Conclave, I think, is number 2 for Best Picture at the moment, but that film's director, Edward Berger, wasn't nominated for directing. So I do think that gives Baker an advantage, because at best, The Brutalist is number 3 for Best Picture at the moment. Also, what's working for Sean Baker is that he is more of an established name as an auteur than Corbet is. Baker has really put in the time over the last 10 years and made so many wonderful movies that have really struck a chord with both critics and audiences. Tangerine, The Florida Project, Red Rocket, and Willem Dafoe was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Florida Project. So yeah, the Academy are aware of who Sean Baker is. Also, Sean Baker just has a lovely narrative of being one of those filmmakers who came from really humble beginnings and, you know, pulled himself up by the bootstraps and did everything independently, and, you know, has just gotten stronger and stronger with each film that he's made. And he's kind of become like this, the little indie American filmmaker who's now gone on to be one of the most exciting voices in American cinema that we've got at the moment. He also has his own style, which is very distinguishable. Like, you can tell when you're looking at a Sean Baker film, and he's also earned a lot of good favor with the industry overall. And he won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival this year, okay? It really does feel like it's his time. With Brady Corbet, The Brutalist is his 3rd movie, and whilst I really did enjoy Vox Lux, this seems to be the film that really put him on the map as a director. So there might not be as much urgency to award him right now when he's still so fresh. And unless you're like Clint Eastwood, the Academy doesn't typically tend to award actor-turned-directors for Best Directing at the Oscars, okay? Not even Ben Affleck could do it for Argo, okay? He was, remember, egregiously snubbed for Best Director. And yeah, Brady Corbet has had nowhere near the career that Ben Affleck had had, you know, when he made Argo. There is no doubt that Brady Corbet has certainly earned a lot of respect and goodwill now that he's released The Brutalist, and people are going to be excited to see what he does next as a filmmaker. But yeah, some Academy voters might be thinking, well, I haven't really heard of Brady Corbet until this year, but I am familiar with Sean Baker's work. I've seen his other work, and it does seem like Baker has paid his dues more than Corbet, so I should probably give my vote to Baker. But yeah, while I do have this instinctual feeling about Brady Corbet, it does seem like there is more working in Sean Baker's favor, because Sean Baker's film Anora is closer to Best Picture than Brady Corbet's The Brutalist is. Baker has the DGA, he's been around a lot longer, so it just kind of makes sense to presume that they're going to go with the Best Picture director combo this year. That genuinely feels like the safest prediction to me. But the thing is, I don't always want to go with the safe, sensible pick, especially like when you have a gut feeling about someone, because it's just boring if you always go with the stats or who the favorite is. And I always end up kicking myself more if I have a gut instinct about someone, which turns out to be right, but I ended up going with the favorite because it felt safer. I do like taking a risk from time to time. The thing is, DJ is decided by directors themselves, and the directors branch do select the nominees for director at the Academy, but the entire voting membership of the Academy gets to select the winner of Best Director. It's not just the directors branch that votes for the winner. And I do think there are probably a lot of Oscar voters rationalizing that if I'm gonna give Sean Baker Best Film and probably Best Original Screenplay, then I can afford to spread the love around and acknowledge Brady Corbet for the triumphant accomplishment of what he pulled off for directing The Brutalist, okay? It is such a cinematic achievement, The Brutalist. And even though I love Anora much more than I love The Brutalist, I still think that The Brutalist is a more obvious display of impressive direction. It's a ballsy move to predict against the DGA winner, but there is something about Brady Corbet's The Brutalist which just feels undeniable to me. Because he does have that Golden Globe and the BAFTA win. But yeah, I think this is going to be my no guts, no glory prediction of the year. And I'm going to lock it in now. I'm going to predict that Best Director at the Oscars goes to Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. Yeah, it's a risk, I know, but yeah, I don't want to play it safe every time. And I just have a feeling about Brady Corbet. So yeah, I'm going to go with him, but yeah, I will not be surprised if Sean Baker wins. I also won't be upset if Sean Baker wins. I would love to see him win. It's just, yeah, I have to predict who I think is going to win, and I just think he's going to surprise. So Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. It's locked in. Let me know in that comment section below. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you agree? Who are you predicting for Best Director? Okay, so next up is Best Actress, and I'm not gonna waste a lot of breath talking about this category because I've already done a deep dive discussion and analysis on this category. If you want my full thoughts on Best Actress, go watch that video. I had so much to say about this category that it needed and deserved its own video. But yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes. Okay, once again, I think Best Actress is the closest race this year, just like last year and the year before that and the year before that. It's gonna come down to either Mikey Madison or Demi Moore, with Fernanda Torres being the dark horse or passion pick. Demi Moore does have more of the big precursor wins. She has the Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and the SAG. Mikey Madison, though, has the BAFTA win, but is also in the Best Picture frontrunner. And often when a film is winning Best Picture, an acting performance does get acknowledged alongside it. And yeah, it'd be weird if Anora won Best Picture, but Mikey Madison, who played Anora, didn't win. Just for the record, my personal preference to win this category is Demi Moore. I am so thirsty to see a performance from a horror film win an Oscar. It's been over 30 years since it's happened, and there's a very good chance that Demi Moore could be the one to end this horror performance dry spell at the Oscars. But I am predicting that Mikey Madison wins for Anora, and just for the record, I'll be very happy if she wins. I think it's an absolutely deserving performance. I think it's going to Madison firstly because her performance isn't fighting any genre bias like Demi Moore is for being in a movie that's just a blood-soaked, over-the-top, satirical, body horror with lots of blood and guts going on. It's not going to be for everyone, that performance. Secondly, Madison won the BAFTA, and in recent Oscars year, the winner of the BAFTA is the most important tool for predicting who wins Best Actress at the Oscars. And thirdly, Mikey Madison is in the Best Picture frontrunner, so I do think that gives her a slight edge over Moore. I do think this race is insanely close. I think it is the closest race this year, and it could go either way. My heart says it's Demi Moore, my head says it's Mikey Madison. And in this case, I'm listening to my head. Even though it is the safer prediction, I do like to take a risk. Something about Mikey Madison just feels like that's the gut feeling I'm having, to go with Mikey Madison. So yeah, locking it in now, my final prediction for Best Actress is Mikey Madison for Anora, but if Demi Moore wins Best Actress, then prepare for the most epic freak-out reaction ever, because I'm going to be so happy. Okay, so next up we have Best Actor, and I'm actually feeling pretty confident on this one. I'm still going with Adrien Brody for The Brutalist. He's won 3 out of the 4 big precursors, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, and BAFTA. He did lose the SAG award to Timothée Chalamet, which does mean Timothée Chalamet does have a foot in the race, but The Brutalist overall has just been performing a lot better this award season. Like, Chalamet's win for Best Actor at SAG is like the only win that a complete unknown has picked up in the big precursors. I will say Chalamet does have a shot, okay? The SAG award win is something. But again, generally with Best Actor, there is a lot of age bias that takes place here, and they don't typically give this award to young, pretty boys like Chalamet or Austin Butler, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt. They couldn't win in their prime day. I don't think Chalamet's gonna win just yet, okay? He's gonna have to put in a little bit more legwork before the Academy are ready to acknowledge him. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I will say I'll be very surprised if Chalamet does end up winning the Oscar on Sunday. And a fun fact that kind of ties in with Chalamet's age, the youngest recipient ever to win Best Actor at the Oscar was actually Adrien Brody, who won for The Pianist when he was 29. Now, all these years later, he's gonna win his second Best Actor Oscar for The Brutalist. So yeah, I think he's gonna win, even though he has one Best Actor Oscar under his belt already. But yeah, he'll join a very exclusive club of people who have managed to win 2 times for the first 2 roles that they've ever been nominated for. I can't name all of them off the top of my head, but I know Mahershala Ali, Christoph Waltz, and Hilary Swank, they're all in this club. But yeah, I'm locking it in now. I think that Adrien Brody is gonna win Best Actor for The Brutalist. Next up is Best Supporting Actress. What is there to say about this category? It's going to Zoe Saldana. There is nothing working against her. She has swept all the precursors. The Emilia Perez backlash hasn't affected her in any way. It feels like this is her time, and the Academy are going to reward her for this incredible career that she's had. I would love to make an argument for Ariana Grande pulling off a surprise win, but there is just simply no evidence at this point to suggest that is going to happen, okay? It's not her time, it's Zoe's. Let's move on. Next up is Best Supporting Actor. Kieran Culkin, next. That one's even more obvious than Zoe Saldana. Best Original Screenplay. Okay, this one is actually quite tough because Anora won the WGA and is the Best Picture frontrunner. The Substance won the Critics' Choice Award and also won Best Screenplay at Cannes. And A Real Pain won the BAFTA, surprisingly, and also won, Best Screenplay at Sundance and Indie Spirit. So yeah, we could have a surprise here. Again, Anora did feel more like a screenplay movie than a director's movie to some people. So yeah, because of that, some people are going to argue that this is where Sean Baker is more likely to win for screenplay than director. Plus, if you have doubts about screenplay, it is often safest to default to the film that is the Best Picture frontrunner. Look at Green Book. It managed to win in this category a few years ago. And I just want to say that it is definitely possible that Sean Baker is going to pick up Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay, okay? It could be like the Daniels this year. There is an argument to be made for Coralie Farjar because she did win Best Original Screenplay at Critics' Choice, And if you look at the Academy Awards and Critics' Choice, often they do see eye to eye with Best Original Screenplay. They do like high concept films, they like satires, like we've seen films like Get Out, Promising Young Woman, Everything Ever All at Once, Her. They've all won in this category. They seem to really like the idea of originality, and there's no doubt that out of these 5 nominees, The Substance is the most original concept of the 5. The question is it too much of a high concept for enough voters to get behind? Because again, it is a over-the-top, bloody, gross out body horror, you know? So it's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea. Another thing to remember is that The Substance as well isn't also a very dialogue-driven movie, okay? It's more visual storytelling than it is, you know, guided by words. So there's a good chance a lot of voters might not really see it as a screenplay movie. But I will say it'll be a very cool win if they do give it to The Substance. A Real Pain, though, managed to pull off a surprise win at BAFTA, even though it wasn't even nominated for Best Film at BAFTA. And it's also not even nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars either. The last time that a film managed to win in this category at the Oscars without having a Best Picture nomination was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind back in 2004. Okay, that was 20 years ago. So I'm asking myself, was A Real Pain's win at BAFTA a surprising one-off, or is there something there that we should be taking note of? Because I know it's a funny road trip movie, but the story itself is Holocaust adjacent. BAFTA typically do champion anything that's like connected to the Holocaust, or if it's a war movie. So is it just a BAFTA thing? Can it still triumph at the Oscars without being nominated for Best Picture? The fact that Kieran Culkin is the frontrunner for Best Supporting Actor means people have watched it. So yeah, there's a chance people have just been charmed by its screenplay over the last few weeks. And the thing that really is giving me pause is that just last year in Best Adapted Screenplay at BAFTA gave it to American Fiction, even though it wasn't nominated anywhere else. But they gave it to American Fiction, even though it wasn't nominated for Best Film or anything else for that matter. And then it went on to win the Oscar. So is it the same case for A Real Pain? Because American Fiction was nominated for Best Picture, A Real Pain isn't, but it does have a good chance of winning an acting win. So it's tough to tell. So yeah, you can argue Real Pain does have the momentum right now. That BAFTA win, is it something? Is it a sign? Personally, I would like to see it go to The Substance. That would be my choice, but I do think this is a case of where it's probably safest to, once again, default to the Best Picture frontrunner, which is Anora. And yeah, it all comes back to that argument. If I'm predicting Anora to win Best Film, then I do anticipate to pick up either Best Screenplay or Director or both. And yeah, it just kind of makes a lot of sense. But I definitely don't feel confident on it. Like, it could go to The Substance, it could go to Real Pain. Like, this might actually be a good category for me to take a gamble on, but I don't want to gamble on all the categories. I'm going to play it safe this time and predict that Sean Baker wins Best Original Screenplay for Anora. All right, let's move on to Best Adapted Screenplay. This is an easy one, okay? It is going to Peter Straughan for Conclave. This might actually be the easiest one to predict out of all 23 categories. It won the Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, the USC Scripture Award. Okay, it's done. Signed, sealed, delivered. 94% of you agree on the awards expert app that it is going to Conclave, okay? There's not even a consensus on what the next pick would be for number 2. So yeah, it's Conclave. All right, moving on to international feature. This one is tough because for most of award season, Emilia Perez seemed like the obvious pick for this category, okay? 13 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. It's a no-brainer. But the question that every Oscar pundit is asking themselves right now is, has all the controversy surrounding Emilia Perez done enough to sway enough Oscar voters to jump ship from Emilia Perez and go to the next most obvious option, the number 2, which would be I'm Still Here, because it's got 3 nominations, including Best Picture. This is why it's so hard to call this category this year, because we've never actually had 2 Best Picture nominees in the international feature category before, okay? It's never happened. But we also have this unexpected variable of having all this controversy surrounding Emilia Perez, and we don't know how much damage the controversy has done to its Oscars chances. The thing is, I'm not actually sure that it is going to go to I'm Still Here, even though I do think it is objectively a much better film than Emilia Perez is. The thing is, BAFTA still went for Emilia Perez for film not in the English language, even though I'm Still Here was available for them to choose. And BAFTA voting did take place after all the controversy surrounding Emilia Perez came out. Emilia Perez isn't winning Best Picture at the Oscars, but it's not going to walk away empty-handed. I've already predicted Zoe Saldana to win. And the fact that Emilia Perez got 13 Oscar nominations, the most of any film this year, it does still make me think that even despite all the controversy, they're probably just going to default to Emilia Perez. But there is still a compelling case for I'm Still Here, because not only did it surprise and get into Best Picture, but we have seen in recent years when you've got a film where there's this late surge of passion for it right before Oscar voting, it can go on to win in like one category if there is a lot of passion behind it. Just think last year with Godzilla Minus One winning in visual effects, or the year before that when Naatu Naatu won Best Song for RRR. If your film is surging right before Oscar voting, and I'm Still Here very much was peaking at that time, then it can result in a passion pick win. And there is no doubt that there is passion for I'm Still Here and Fernanda Torres' performance. You only have to look at the comments section of my deep dive Best Actress video to see. The thing is, if you are going to predict I'm Still Here to win an international feature, then you're predicting that solely based on the hunch that the backlash to Emilia Perez has wounded it in this category too, even though there's no real evidence to suggest that. If I'm Still Here had won Best Film Not in the English Language at BAFTA, that would be evidence that maybe the tide has turned against Emilia Perez for international feature, and I'm Still Here can win. But again, it didn't. Emilia Perez still prevailed at the BAFTAs. So yeah, I don't think there is any actual solid evidence that I'm Still Here is going to win international feature. It's just whether you think the timing of Emilia Perez controversy and the surge of love for I'm Still Here was enough to dethrone Emilia Perez in a vulnerable moment. I do think there will be a large chunk of voters that will want to give their vote to something other than Emilia Perez, but I also think a lot of voters will just vote for what they've seen. And when you've got a film that's got 13 nominations, it heavily implies that it's been watched by a lot of people. And a lot of voters might just tick off Emilia Perez on their ballot because they've seen it, despite all the controversy surrounding it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Emilia Perez. Let me stress though, I do not want to see it go to Emilia Perez. I think I'm Still Here, or literally any other movie in this category, would be a better pick. It's just so hard for me to go against stats like the fact it's got 13 nominations, it won Film Not in the English Language at BAFTA. But yeah, there's not really any evidence that I'm Still Here has got it in the bag. This is actually one of those categories where I hope my prediction is wrong and the Academy are cool and actually give it to I'm Still Here, okay? But I have to go what I think's gonna win, and sadly that is still Emilia Perez. So yeah, locking it in now. Next up we have Best Documentary Feature, and I'm fairly confident on this one. I'm going with No Other Land. It may have lost the BAFTA to Super Slash Man, the Christopher Reeve story, but that isn't nominated here. But No Other Land has been one of the most visible and discussed documentaries of 2024. It's very topical, and it's won its fair share of awards this year. If something were to surprise, it would probably be Porcelain War because it won the DGA. But yeah, I still feel like it's gonna go to No Other Land. Next up is Animated Feature. Not a dead cert, but more of a logical pick, this one. BAFTA gave it to Wallace and Gromit, but that makes sense because, you know, Wallace and Gromit is a British institution. Of course, BAFTA would go for it. The Golden Globes gave it to Flo, and there is a lot of love for Flo, but I do have to go with The Wild Robot because it's got the Annie Award, the PGA, and Critics' Choice. If Flo had managed to win the BAFTA, then I think it probably could have caused an upset like The Boy and the Heron did last year. But yeah, The Wild Robot also benefits from having nominations in other categories, sound and score. And yes, I know that Flo is nominated for Best International Feature, but yeah, The Wild Robot still has more. So yeah, my final prediction is Animated Feature goes to The Wild Robot. Next up is Cinematography. I would love to see a surprise win for either Nosferatu or Maria. Those are some of the most beautifully shot movies of the year, but yeah, I do think it's gonna go to Lord Crowley for The Brutalist. It's just big, bold, sweeping, ambitious cinematography. It was shot on 70mm, which is a massive selling point of the movie itself. It just won the BAFTA as well. And out of all the films that's nominated for Best Cinematography, it is the one which is closest to being a Best Picture winner. It's the film which I can see the vast majority of the Academy going with, so yeah, my final prediction is The Brutalist wins Cinematography. Next up we have Editing, and this is another tricky one. All 5 of the films are up for Best Picture. Emilia Perez has arguably the most editing, okay? It's very in your face. Anora is the Best Picture frontrunner, but will the Academy feel the need to give Sean Baker another win? Conclave did win the BAFTA. It's very clean, very precise, very sharp editing. It's got a little bit of flash and style, but it's not as in your face as, say, Emilia Perez's editing. Often with this category, they do just default to the most editing. The Brutalist, even though I do think it is quite well paced, even for a 3.5-hour movie, it is still gonna be too long for some voters to say it deserves editing. And Wicked does have some well stitched together sequences in it, but honestly, it does seem the least likeliest to win here. Its appearance in this category category did come as a big surprise to me, so I'm not going to predict it. I think logically it's most likely going to go to Conclave because it won at BAFTA and Conclave is a credible Best Picture contender. Best Picture and editing are often linked together. I still think Anora has the better chance to win Best Picture, and I do think it can potentially win editing. But when you compare the two films together, Anora and Conclave, when you look at the editing of those films, Conclave does feel a little bit more flashy, a little bit more stylish. The editing is just a little bit more noticeable with Conclave. So yeah, I think that gives it an edge. So I'm going to say my final prediction is Conclave wins editing. Plus, I just don't see Sean Baker doing a clean sweep at the Oscars. Next up is production design. It's a pretty easy one. I'm going with Wicked. The reason for that is because so much of the world building of Wicked was done practically. They built these massive sets for the actors to inhabit. Like they had Shiz University, Munchkinland, the Emerald City, and they also built a moving train. It's the most showy and the most obvious use of set design this year. If anything were to surprise here, I think maybe The Brutalist, because the film is about architecture, okay? Set design is integral to the story. But yeah, if I thought it was gonna win anywhere, I thought it would win at BAFTA, and BAFTAs didn't go for it, so yeah. I'm saying it's gonna go to Wicked. Next up is costume design, and this is another easy one. It's gonna go to Paul Tazwell for Wicked. The costumes are a huge part of that movie. They're elaborate, imaginative, colorful, striking, memorable. Also very detailed with the hurricanes at the bottom of the shoes and the bubbles that are on Glinda's dress. It won at the Costume Designer Guild, it won at Critics' Choice, it won at BAFTA. It does have the best stats, so yeah. I'm predicting that Paul Tazwell wins costume design for Wicked. Next up is makeup and hair. Now, if The Substance only walks away with one Oscar, then it is still a big deal. And no other category feels more locked in for The Substance than hair and makeup. It's won everything already. If anything else were a surprise here, maybe Wicked, because, you know, Cynthia Erivo is covered in green paint. Yeah, it'll have a good chance to win hair and makeup next year for Wicked for Good. But The Substance does need a win for its impact on the zeitgeist and the box office, and the most logical win to give it is for hair and makeup. Everyone agrees it is deserving. So yeah, I'm locking it in now. My final prediction for hair and makeup is The Substance. Visual effects, another easy one. It's going to Doom Part 2. It feels like this has been locked in since March. Okay, next up is sound. Now, we could have a surprise in this category. My instinct is to go with Doom Part 2, but the thing to remember is usually sound and editing are tied together, and Doom Part 2 isn't even nominated for editing, but it does make the most sense. Okay, it just won at BAFTA. The Cinema Audio Society went with A Complete Unknown and The Wild Robot, and they are both nominated here, so that is giving me pause. But with the Academy, I do think they will default to the movie with the most sound, and that is Doom Part 2. Plus, I'm just realizing last year, The Zone of Interest managed to win Best Sound without being nominated for editing, so I think Doom Part 2 is probably going to repeat what The Zone of Interest did last year. So yeah, my final prediction for sound is Doom Part 2. Next up is Best Original Score, and I'm pretty confident on this one. I think it's going to go to Daniel Blumberg for The Brutalist. Daniel Blumberg's biggest obstacle was the BAFTA, because BAFTA love Edward Berger films, okay? They were on the Berger bandwagon this year by giving Conclave Best Film, but they still didn't give Volker Bertelmann the win for Best Score, okay? They did give it to Blumberg for his majestic score from The Brutalist, and I do think that The Brutalist is arguably the most memorable score of the year, okay? Those brassy notes during the overture, they've just really stayed with people. When you hear that music, you think of The Brutalist now. So yeah, it's very identifiable, very distinguished. I think it is the best this year, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a very deserving win. So yeah, I'm locking it in now. My final prediction for Best Score at the Oscars is Daniel Blumberg for The Brutalist. Next we have Best Original Song, and this is such an underwhelming category this year. I genuinely don't care who wins in this category. I will say there is a case for Diane Warren to potentially win her first ever competitive Oscar in this category. She's been nominated 16 times, still hasn't won. The reason she could potentially win here is because we don't know if the backlash surrounding Amelia Perez has affected the song category, because BAFTA don't have a song category, so there's no way for us to tell there. So yeah, we're gonna find out on Oscars Sunday if the backlash of Amelia Perez has affected, you know, the outcome of Best Song. Will they go with Diane Warren? Maybe she feels like, you know, the next logical pick after the two Amelia Perez songs, but I still think they are going to give it to an Amelia Perez song. It probably will go to El Mal because it won the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice. If there was a stronger song here in the mix, I would be championing it, but honestly, all the songs this year are just so meh. They've made no impact on me. But Amelia Perez is an original musical, and while the songs aren't great, they are set pieces within the film. And between the two songs that are nominated, El Mal is the more memorable sequence in the film. So yeah, I'm gonna say that El Mal wins Best Song at the Oscars. And the thing is, I almost don't want Diane Warren to win here anyways, because I don't want her to win by default for an average song. Like, her song from 688 just isn't anything that special. It would be such a wah-wah way for her to win her first long overdue Oscar. See, I kind of don't want it to happen for her that way, you know, winning by default, but I could see it happening. All right, so now we're on to the categories which make or break everyone's predictions, and they are the shorts. Should probably start by saying I do have a lot of blind spots in the short categories, whether it's doc or animated or live action. I haven't seen everything, sadly. Starting off with documentary short. The Only Girl in the Orchestra is the one that I've seen because it's on Netflix. And this might just be me, but it's also the one I've heard the most discussion around. It did win documentary short at Critics' Choice. It's also the #1 on the Awards Expert app. There is an argument to be made for Incident that has made some noise, but that's probably because it's quite harrowing. Yeah, it definitely leaves an impact. But also, I Am Ready Warden was quite effective. But I am gonna go with The Only Girl in the Orchestra, mainly because it's the most visible campaign I've seen for a documentary short. That's thanks to Netflix. So yeah, while I don't feel confident on it, it's the one I feel myself drawn to the most. So yeah, I'm gonna go with The Only Girl in the Orchestra. Next up is animated short, and there's definitely a solid argument for Wonder to Wonder because it won Best British Short Animation just last week and also won at the Annie Awards. The BAFTA win could potentially translate into an Oscar win, but again, it is Best British Short, so it doesn't necessarily mean the Academy are gonna go for it. I haven't seen Beautiful Men, but it is #1 on the Awards Expert app, and apparently it explores like topics related to like masculinity. And it has won some prizes at some of the film festivals that it's been to. Yuck, I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Again, this is what I don't feel confident on, and this could be just recency bias or even just British bias, but I do find myself leaning more towards Wonder to Wonder. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between Wonder to Wonder or maybe Beautiful Men because so many people seem quite confident on it. I'm gonna go with Wonder to Wonder. And last but not least, we have live action short, and honestly, this is the one I feel the least confident on. I think it's between Anuja, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, and Alien. Anuja is #1 on the Awards Expert app. The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent is #1 on Gold Derby. But Alien seems to be having a little surge recently now that more people have been watching the shorts. But as I'm pretty clueless on this category, I'm just gonna have to go with my gut feeling, and that's Anuja. Again, it has the added benefit of having a strong Netflix campaign. So yeah, this is just a shot in the dark, this one. It is just a guess. I'm gonna go with Anuja. And we are done, guys. Those were all 23 of my predictions for the 2025 Oscars. Do get involved in the comment section down below with some of your predictions. Let me know what's your no guts, no glory prediction this year. And also do let me know what do you think of my predictions. Am I being foolish or silly in any categories? I am hosting my own Oscars party this weekend. I've got some friends coming over. We're gonna watch and react to the Oscars. There'll be a reactions video the morning after the Oscars. If you don't want to miss that, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn on the little bell if you want to get notified. If you enjoyed the video, do help me out by hitting that little thumbs up button. It's great for the algorithm. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Hearfield, and I'll see you next time.